Welcome to this special edition of our PoM Podcast series, Season 1, Episode number 14, where we delve into the transformative power of meditation. In honor of the inaugural World Meditation Day being celebrated on the 20th of December 2024, we'll explore its global impact, surprising connections, and how it can inspire peace and harmony in our lives. Let's begin and follow our moderators, Robert and Joana.
Please note, the information shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only and not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you have concerns about your mental or physical health, consult a qualified healthcare professional.
Okay, so meditation. Looks like we're going deep on this one. You've really dug up some interesting stuff. We've got the UN talking global well-being, personal stories, all kinds of angles.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see how meditation is showing up everywhere these days.
And not just like, sitting on a cushion stuff. You found an article about a company trying to break a world record for the biggest virtual meditation session ever.
It's a sign of the times, for sure.
But what really got me was this whole meditation and fertility connection. I mean, I get the peace and harmony thing, but babies, that's a new one.
It really makes you think about the mind-body connection in a whole new way.
So let's back up for a second. The UN, they're really pushing this whole well-being thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. They're all about a holistic approach to health. It's not just about being disease-free, but about thriving.
And they're getting pretty specific with their recommendations. Like during COVID, they were saying limit the TV news, stick to reading articles to manage stress. Kind of interesting, huh?
Yeah, they're not just talking the talk. They're giving people concrete steps to improve their well-being.
And one of those steps seems to be meditation. I mean, they went and declared December 21st, World Meditation Day.
Big move, right? Co-sponsored by India, no less.
This year's theme is meditation for global peace and harmony. That's pretty powerful.
It really is. And they're not just talking about ending wars, but about cultivating inner peace, the kind that spreads outward.
And get this, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar is leading a live meditation session at the UN headquarters on World Meditation Day.
Talk about a statement. It shows that meditation is gaining mainstream acceptance as a tool for peace.
Speaking of Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, those trauma relief and meditation programs he's doing, wow.
He's working with everyone, at-risk youth, veterans, even prisoners, using meditation to help them heal, manage stress, find some inner peace.
Really makes you think about the potential impact. So we've got the UN's perspective, some amazing work being done. But what about the science behind meditation? What's actually going on in our brains and bodies?
Well, one of the biggest benefits is stress reduction, and there's a ton of research on how this works. Meditation actually reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. It also helps regulate the autonomic nervous system. That's the fight or flight response.
So basically, meditation is calming us down.
Exactly. And it goes further than that. Studies show meditation can change the structure of our brains over time, particularly in areas related to attention, emotional regulation, compassion.
Wait, hold on. Rewire our brains. Seriously.
It's like brain training. You strengthen those pathways for positive emotions, focus, all that good stuff.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. So we've got the science, but I'm curious about real-world applications. You mentioned meditation is showing up in some unexpected places.
Oh, definitely. We talked about those trauma programs, but it's also being used in businesses, schools, even government.
Yeah.
There's this fascinating program in the UK Parliament introducing mindfulness training to politicians.
Politicians meditating.
Yeah.
That's not the first image that comes to mind.
I know, right? But the idea is to help them be more self-aware, less reactive, and ultimately make better decisions. Manage stress, stay focused, and all that under pressure.
So it's not just about personal peace, but using those skills to navigate the world around us. Maybe even make it a little better.
Absolutely. And it's not just politicians. Businesses are doing it too. Boosting employee well-being, productivity, creativity, the whole package.
Okay, we've covered a lot here. The UN, the science, real-world examples. But let's talk about this meditation and fertility thing. That really piqued my interest.
It's definitely a surprising one, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you consider the impact of stress on our hormones. And fertility is all about hormones, right?
So by reducing stress, meditation could create a more balanced hormonal environment for conception.
Exactly. And research is starting to show a link between stress reduction techniques like meditation and improved fertility outcomes. Of course, it's not a guarantee, but it's something to consider.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm intrigued. But where does yoga fit into all this? You mentioned it's more than just stretching.
Right. Yoga has a strong mental and spiritual component alongside the physical.
So it's not just about twisting yourself into a pretzel.
Well, that's part of it, but the real focus is on connecting your mind, body, and breath.
I can see how that would tie into meditation. Does yoga kind of prep you for it?
In a way, yeah. The breathing, the mental focus, the physical awareness you build in yoga, it all makes it easier to sit and actually meditate. Yoga lays the groundwork for a deeper experience. Yeah, it's like quieting that inner voice so you can actually, get to the meditation part.
Makes sense. So it seems like meditation and all this stuff, yoga, mindfulness, it's getting pretty popular. But what about someone who's curious, wants to try it, but has no idea where to begin? What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, great. Being curious is the first step, right? It means you're open to trying something new. And luckily, there are so many resources out there now.
Yeah, all that stuff you sent about World Meditation Day, it's like a whole global meditation party.
Seriously, it's a perfect time to just dip your toes in. There are events, guided meditations, workshops, even online stuff you can do from anywhere.
Oh, and you know what else is cool? The Oxford Mindfulness Center is doing free guided meditation sessions online. So even if you're like on a budget or just want to try it out, no pressure, there are options.
Those guided meditations are great for beginners. It's like having a trainer for your mind.
I like that, a mind trainer. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed or intimidated, a guided meditation could be a good way to start.
Totally. Takes the guesswork out of it. You just follow along and see what happens.
So, okay, we've got the resources. But what about actually meditating? Is there a right way? Like, what if your mind is just racing? A million thoughts a minute.
Oh, that's super normal, especially when you're starting out. The thing is, meditation isn't about emptying your mind completely or like stopping thoughts.
It's not.
Nope. It's more about noticing those thoughts and just observing them without judgment.
So it's like changing how you relate to your thoughts, not trying to control them.
You got it. It's like you're taking a step back and just watching your mind do its thing.
Sounds kind of hard. How do you even start doing that?
It takes practice, for sure. But a good technique is focusing on your breath. Just notice the feeling of breathing in, breathing out.
And if your mind wanders, you just bring it back to the breath.
Gently, yeah. Like you're training a puppy, every time it runs off, you guide it back.
So not beating yourself up if you get distracted, just gently bringing that focus back.
Exactly. It's all about training your attention, finding that stillness inside. And the more you practice, the easier it gets.
Okay, so we've got the basics, but let's talk about this whole meditation for world peace thing again. Sounds great in theory, but how does that actually work? Like, how does sitting on a cushion make the world a more peaceful place?
Right. It's a big question. People have been thinking about this for a long time. The idea is that when you cultivate that inner peace, that compassion, it starts to affect how you interact with the world around you.
So it's like peace starts from within and then spreads outwards.
Yeah, it's like an inside-out approach. Real peace isn't just about the absence of war, it's a way of being. And when you have that inner peace, it affects your relationships, how you handle situations, everything.
So the more peaceful and compassionate we are individually, the less conflict and aggression there'll be.
Makes sense, right? And even when there is conflict, you're better equipped to handle it constructively. You're less reactive, more understanding. You look for solutions that work for everyone.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But let's be real, not everyone is going to meditate. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we make the world a more peaceful place when there's still so much anger and fear and all that?
It's tough, and there are no easy answers, but I think it starts with each of us, taking responsibility for our own inner state.
Leading by example, showing that a peaceful, compassionate life is possible.
Exactly. The more people who embrace these practices, the more that ripples outwards, like planting seeds of peace,
I like that. Gives me hope that maybe we can create a better world for ourselves and for the future.
Me too. I think meditation and all these practices, they're essential for that.
Okay, so we've talked personal benefits, global benefits, but let's get back to that meditation and fertility connection. That one really surprised me.
It's definitely getting more attention as research comes out.
So how does it actually work? How can something as simple as sitting quietly affect something as complex as fertility?
Well, we know stress messes with our hormones, right? And fertility is all about hormones. When we're stressed, our bodies release cortisol, and that can really disrupt the balance you need for conception.
So meditation helps by reducing stress and creating a better hormonal environment.
Exactly. And there's evidence that this can improve both male and female fertility. Stress can lower sperm count in men and mess with ovulation in women. So calming the mind, reducing stress, it could make a difference.
Interesting. So it's not a magic solution, but it's worth exploring for couples who are struggling.
Absolutely.
Okay. This is all pretty fascinating, but I got to be honest, I'm still a little skeptical. Meditation always seemed like a, hippy-dippy thing to me. Can something that old really be relevant in our crazy modern world?
It's a common thought that meditation is just for certain types of people, but really it's just about training your mind. It's mental fitness.
Mental fitness.
Yeah, like going to the gym, but for your brain. And just like exercise, it's got tons of benefits.
Yeah.
Focus, emotional regulation, stress management, even compassion, all backed by science.
Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal. But what about all the technology around us? Isn't that like the opposite of being mindful and present?
It's definitely a challenge, all those distractions. But, technology can also help.
Really? How?
There are tons of apps, guided meditations online, nature sounds, all kinds of things to create a calm space.
So instead of doom scrolling, we can use our phones for good.
Exactly. It's about using technology intentionally, making conscious choices about how we spend our time and energy.
Okay, I'm actually getting excited about this. But last question, for someone who's totally new, where should they start? How can they try it out without feeling overwhelmed?
I'd say start with a guided meditation.
Like those free ones from the Oxford Mindfulness Center.
Yep. They're great because they give you structure and support. You just listen and follow along.
And if you don't have internet or prefer something more, old school.
There are books, resources, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And lots of communities have meditation groups or classes.
So no excuses, really. There's something for everyone.
Exactly. And the benefits are totally worth it. Less stress, better focus, more compassion, finding some peace in your day. Meditation can really make a difference.
Okay, I'm inspired. I'm going to check out those guided meditations, maybe even find a group. Time to give this mindfulness thing a shot.
That's great to hear. Just remember to be patient with yourself. It's a practice. It takes time, like anything else.
While life moves fast, your mind deserves a moment to pause. At PoM, Peace of Mind, you get slow fashion for empowered living. From sustainable apparel to mindfulness practices, podcasts, and blogs, we accompany you to find your inner balance in every breath. Explore and visit pomshop.nl, where mindfulness meets style. PoM, Peace of Mind, Happy Life.
Okay, I'm ready to dive in. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to this idea of meditation for a better world. It's a beautiful thought. But how do we actually make it happen? How do we go from individual practice to, a collective shift towards peace and harmony?
Big question, right? No easy answers. But I think recognizing that we're all connected is a good place to start.
We're all in this together kind of thing.
Exactly. We're part of this big web of life, and everything we do affects everything else.
So if we're kind and compassionate to ourselves, that extends outward to others.
Yeah, the more we cultivate those qualities, the more we contribute to a positive shift.
Okay, makes sense. But what about all the big systems and structures that cause conflict and violence? Can meditation really change that?
It's complicated, and meditation isn't a magic solution by itself. But creating inner peace and compassion, that's the foundation for positive change.
Like a ripple effect that reaches those bigger systems.
Right. It's about shifting our collective consciousness, one person at a time. As more people embrace these practices, it creates a momentum that can transform the world.
That's a powerful thought. Maybe we can actually create a future where peace and harmony aren't just ideas, but a reality.
I hope so. I think meditation is a key part of that.
It really is mind-blowing, isn't it? This simple act of sitting and focusing can have such a huge impact, not just on us personally, but on the whole world.
It really shows you the power of the mind to create change.
And I like how all these sources, they're not making meditations out to be some magic cure-all. They're real about the challenges, It takes effort.
Definitely. Meditation is a journey, not a destination, right? It's about showing up, being consistent, and being willing to face whatever comes up, on the cushion and in life.
So it's not about reaching some perfect state of bliss where everything's awesome.
Not exactly. It can bring moments of peace and calm, for sure. But it's also about learning to deal with the ups and downs of life, with more awareness, more resilience.
So it's like building up those inner muscles to handle whatever comes your way.
Exactly. Learning to be mindful, compassionate with yourself, and to see your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. But what about the skeptics out there? The ones who think meditation is just, a bunch of hocus pocus.
I get it. It's had a bit of a mysterious, even mystical reputation. But really, it's about training your mind. It's mental fitness, like we were talking about. And just like exercise, the benefits are backed by science.
So no chanting or levitation required.
Well, those things exist in some traditions, but they're not the core of it. At its most basic, meditation is just paying attention to the present moment, with curiosity, without judging.
So it's about awareness, being present.
Yes. And that awareness can be about anything. Your thoughts, feelings, your body, even what's around you.
Which, in our crazy, distracted world, sounds pretty valuable.
It is. It's like hitting pause on autopilot and really tuning in to yourself and the world.
So it's not about escaping reality, but experiencing it in a different way.
A more mindful way. And that can bring so much. Clarity, focus, compassion, creativity.
Okay, you've convinced me. But before we wrap up, are there any downsides to meditation? Anything people should be cautious about?
It's a good question. It's important to be mindful and use common sense, just like with anything else. For most people, meditation is safe and has a lot of benefits, but there are some situations where you need to be careful.
Like what?
For example, if you have certain mental health conditions, like trauma or psychosis, you should talk to a professional before starting a meditation practice.
So it's not a replacement for therapy or medication?
Exactly. It's more like a complement to those things.
Okay, that's important to remember. And what about people who have, really intense emotions or tough thoughts come up while they're meditating? What should they do?
That happens sometimes, especially as you go deeper. It's actually a good sign. It means you're connecting with yourself on a deeper level. The key is to be kind to yourself. These are just part of the human experience.
So not judge yourself or get caught up in those thoughts and feelings.
Right. Just notice them, be aware, and let them pass without fighting them.
Okay, that makes sense. So meditation can be this really powerful tool for growth and well-being, but you got to be smart about it. Be aware. Use your judgment. And be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. And if you're thinking about starting a meditation practice, finding a good teacher or experienced guide is always a good idea.
Great advice. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of meditation. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and insights.
My pleasure. And remember, meditation is a lifelong journey. Take your time, enjoy it, and let it unfold naturally.
It's definitely time for me to give it a try. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.
Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you found your inner peace with our podcast. Keep yourself updated and join us on our next episode. Stay safe and healthy, and have a good day. See you soon.